Okay, welcome everybody to our session, Clean Future, Tackling PFAS and Pollution. So, it's 3 p.m., it's the final day of Change Now. You've had a lot of conversations. How's the energy? Yeah, okay, good. I want to make sure I get your attention, first of all. So I'm going to ask you to stand up or put your hands up. Stand up, if possible, or put your hands up. Now, I would like you to maybe take the opportunity to have a little stretch, feel the Paris sun on your face a little. And I would like you to stay standing if you think you have some PFAS, forever chemicals, on you at the moment. Maybe check your pockets, have a look around. You think you have some forever chemicals, synthetic chemicals on you at the moment. I think most people are staying standing. Next, stay standing if you had heard of PFAS before today. Sit down if you hadn't. Okay, we have a very knowledgeable group here. Then stay standing if you can say what PFAS stand for. Okay. And everyone can sit down now. So PFAS, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, are everywhere. And forgive me for killing the vibe a little here, but they're in your smartphone screens, your waterproof jackets, cosmetics, pizza boxes, contact lenses, and they end up in breast milk, in fish, in eggs, in bees, in butterflies, in flowers. A famous microbiologist, Linda Bernheim, said, "We're swimming in a chemical soup, and we didn't give consent." That's the bad news. The good news is we're going to meet now some brilliant activists, innovators, business leaders who are fighting back for a PFAS-free future. My name's Nick McGurl from the global community of young changemakers, Changemaker Exchange. I'm your moderator for this next 75 minutes or so. And I would love to open this session by inviting on stage a real powerful voice for climate justice across Europe, now bringing, I think, super important insights into new issues like the PFAS crisis. Can you give a big warm welcome, please, to Adélaïde Charlier. Welcome, Adélaïde. Hello, how's it going? Welcome. Okay.
Hello.
Welcome,
Thank
Adélaïde.
you.
Bienvenue.
Thank you.
How are you?
Very good, very good. Wow, we got some sun in here. It's super nice.
Exactly.
Yay.
The best stage at
The
this
best
time.
stage. Wow.
So,
Incredible.
Adélaïde, it's already been quite the journey for you. Starting Youth for Climate Belgium at 18, advising European leaders on the Green New Deal. Before we jump into your current work and campaigns, can you maybe paint a picture of your journey so far, how it started and how it evolved?
Yeah, totally. Hi, everyone. I'm 24. I'm a climate justice activist based in Belgium, in Brussels. And when I was in high school, I started the School Strikes for Climate, coordinating that. And then since then, when you realize the power that you can have with a collective, you just never stop. So we continued with that movement, and then today I'm done with my studies. So I co-created with really cool activists in Brussels an association called The Bridge, and we want to make the bridge between citizens and EU policies, because it's so opaque, it's really hard to understand, but it's touching us. 80% of environmental policies that we see around us today are decided in Brussels. So we must be able to have access to these policies, to have access to what's going on there. So this is our role, what we're trying to do, really build that bridge. And it's crucial, thanks to mobilizations of citizens from across Europe. We were able to influence, for example, the nature restoration law. For some of you, if you heard about it, just restoring at least 20% of the nature in Europe, which sounds just the minimum, actually, of what we would need. There was a huge opposition in Brussels. It was like, no way, that can't be the priority. No, nature is not climate. We should just focus on decarbonizing, not focusing on nature too much. So we came in and were like, no, you didn't get it. Nature is climate, and you must pass this law. And we mobilized, we brought people in Strasbourg, we brought people to write newsletters, we took over social media, made everything go viral. And thanks to that, or at least thanks to a part of our mobilization, probably many other factors, this law passed. So I strongly believe in the mobilization of citizens as sometimes the only way to assure that we have strong policies.
Amazing. Thank you. That's exactly the energy
we gotta
we need.
Get that power.
And so as part of that journey, you're kind of our Trojan horse in Brussels.
Oh my God.
You've had access to some powerful people connected in with Macron, with Macron. You've been advising on the Green New Deal.
When they want to listen, yeah. Sadly, that has changed lately.
And so what have you learned about influencing policy effectively at a European level through that journey?
So it's been like 7 years of trying to mobilize people and seeing that our strength as citizens is the mass. We don't have the same means in terms of financial means, in terms of intellectual means, like literally spending time to read studies or to have studies or to ask scientists to make studies. Like, we don't have those strengths because we are busy with our daily lives. Our strength is being connected, and it's the mass. So we have to show that mass, whether it's in the streets or on social media or on a petition. But that's why it's so important when you like something on social media or when you sign a petition or when you go in the streets, it actually matters. We see it because then when we are in the room with leaders, our leverage is saying, we're not just crazy activists. There are actually millions of other people thinking what we're telling you right now. So we have to be able to prove that. And what we see, and like what I've seen at least these past years, is that the politicians that I've met, they're not leaders, they're followers. That's actually the basis of politicians. They follow what's trending right now. Basically, they're like an Instagram algorithm. So we have to make sure that we're like strong. And we have to show them that we are the leaders and that they have to follow us. And they will only follow us if we're massively present. And right now, we're not organized well enough because on the other side, they've been organizing, they've been lobbying. Also on the question of PFAS, we're going to talk about it. And so we have to be super strong on that. And we have to show that we're the leaders and that we are organizing no matter what's going on the other side, and that we have the strength, which is being massively present and massively organized.
Yes. Okay, yeah. Amazing.
Let's go.
How does that message resonate? Politicians as followers and activists, citizens as leaders. And I think it's often said that politics and policy comes downstream of culture, of movements. Do you have some examples of where that has successfully happened?
In terms of mobilization and, oh yeah, totally. Like I was saying on this nature restoration law, that impact was huge. But before that, like how I started my activism was with strikes for climate. And we have to say we were seen as like, what? Like you're not going to school, you're putting your diploma at risk, like this is not what you should be doing, you shouldn't be here. Like no, like today everybody's like, yeah, sure, global strikes for climate is great. At that moment when we're actually doing it, the support was not massively there. So what I'm learning from that is that when you're actually doing an action that is making a change, while you do the action, you don't have the support that you should be having. And it's afterwards, once people have seen the impact that you had, that the support comes in. So don't doubt with the action that you're doing. because the support will come afterwards when you've shown that this was the right thing to do. But what you have to do is to be where you think it's right. And when I was in the streets and not at school, it felt right. It felt right to be there, to be with others, and to try to make a change by doing something that is different than our daily life. We're not going to change the world, or at least change and try to influence something, if we keep on doing the same thing every day. So it was like getting out of our comfort zone constantly to impact policies, etc. And that it has a change. The reason why I'm still an activist today, it's because we had victories, and I'm holding on to that because I know that there is no other places where I should be in order to make an impact.
Awesome, thank you. And so now you're bringing that energy, that hopefully victories to the PFAS issue. Can I ask why PFAS and why now?
There is so many things to say around that. You probably know it. PFAS, there is really several things to say. First, it's impacting our health. We all have probably PFAS in our bodies right now. This has consequences on us. This can create cancer. This has an impact on our fertility. And so the question of health is crucial for all of us. And it sounds crazy to hear that we know this for more than 30 years, even more than that. In the 70s, companies were warned that created PFAS were warned that this had an impact on our health. It didn't matter. We continued to produce PFAS. Today, we find PFAS in everything that surrounds us. A study that came out less than a month ago showed that there is too many PFAS in an egg of chicken that is in our garden. So not industrial chicken. We're talking about chickens that are in our garden. We think this is the healthiest thing that we could eat. There is too many PFAS in that. So I'm kind of getting depressed and overwhelmed with the fact that there is PFAS everywhere. And what we have to see now is, okay, when there has been like moments in history where industrials knew exactly what they were doing, exactly the impact that they're having on the environment and on the health, who came up? Who were the ones rising up to say that this was wrong? Citizens. It was always citizens' mobilization. Always. So now I strongly believe that the only way out of our dependence to PFAS, the only way out to facing the strongest and the biggest health issue that we have right now across the world is citizen mobilization. So we have to give the tools to citizens. First on information, like it's super complex. There is like more than 15,000 PFAS. Like it's super hard to understand. It's everywhere. We think it's super overwhelming. So it's easier to minimize what's going on because otherwise it's too much. And once we know, what do we do? So that's exactly why we want to come in right now as a movement to show that we can act, that we can influence the fact that we need to just make PFAS illegal. That it's simple as that. Huh? We're not going to make it complex. We have to make it illegal. That's it. That's our demand. And for that, we need to organize. We need to be stronger. And I strongly believe that the only way out of PFAS will be us mobilizing.
Okay. And how is that going to look like? What's the campaign? How can people get involved? What potential policy milestones are ahead that this could mobilize for?
The complexity can be our strength in the way that you can regulate PFAS literally on every level of governance. Also on a European level, that is why we're focusing on it a lot. We need to have this law on the European level because it's an EU policy, competence. But what we see right now is that actually national levels are more ambitious. In France, if you are French, you know that this has been a subject for a very long time. It's not new. And it's also thanks to citizen mobilization mostly. So we need to bring that up also on a European level right now. In France, they have been able to pass a PFAS law. And it's very interesting if we look at it. Because they were able to pass this law on textile, on cosmetic. And normally it was also on, I'm losing my word in English. On a poil. A pan, thank you so much. Contribution, I love it. On a pan. And this is where we come in. Because there is a huge lobby. We can't be naive also in this. It's like super serious economic reasons behind also. People are actually gaining lots of money from PFAS. So there is a huge pan lobby, who I'm referring to here in France. And they were able to take that out of the law. And that's crazy because this is still affecting us daily. This is still like connected to our health. And so we must be able to have such strong policy also, first on every national level, on a European level because it's the competence. So please continue to follow us and see how we can organize. We're going to be organizing, so we will need your help too. And we have to assure that it includes every PFAS product. And there is no way that the PFAS lobbyists will be stronger than us. This is what we're going to try to come in and do. And so we're literally organizing campaigns, petitions, but also lobbying inside. And we will be present in the streets in Brussels also in order to make this the biggest subject, as it should be, because it is the biggest health crisis right now, but we're not making it the biggest subject in the press. So this is going to be our first challenge, making it the biggest subject we have to talk about in the next month and years in every single media, social media, and that we make it accessible to people to understand what's the story, what's the narrative. Making it a narrative is huge.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
That is exactly the energy and commitment we're going to need for this very complex issue. We're unfortunately it's flown by, hasn't it? We're unfortunately almost out of time. So I'm going to ask you to, if you had to kind of tattoo one sentence on the audience's consciousness as they're leaving this session, what would it be? What do you want them to go away from this conversation?
Wow, there is so many phrases I would want to tattoo myself on. Actually, it's a good idea. I'll tattoo myself a sentence one day. I would say that you know this already. If we're not there, if this subject is not ours, not only in here because we read reports, but in here because it's actually affecting us daily, it's not going to be out there in the parliament. It's not going to be out there in the press. This is what I meant by we are actually the leaders, is that we have to use in our daily lives and through our talents. I'm 24. I was just a student, and now I'm trying to make this a daily life because it's huge, and making it my job. But through our talents, we have to make sure that we talk about this, and that is the center of our attention. And I would say, please, please, when you see that we organize, if you can't make it your daily life, please support and answer to the calls, because it does matter. When we're in there trying to influence, we have to show that we're massively present. Signing a petition is worth it, because we're not going to let that petition stay online. We're going to use it. Liking a video is worth it. Like, just to quickly end on a quick story, a month ago, we made a video it was linked to taxing fossil fuels, another subject that is super important, in Brussels. We wanted to have access to the European Commission. We didn't have that access today because we're not invited anymore. We made a video that became so viral thanks to likes and comments that the cabinet of a commissioner that is working on this saw the video, invited us, and now we have a foot inside. Now we're invited. Now we're in, and we're assuring that we're not going to let go of that meeting. So the impact that you can have when we tell you, please like this, or please share this, or please sign this petition, do it. It's worth it. And then if you want to do even more, join us. Come and see me after, because we have a lot to do, and we need your talents. It's more than a sentence, so put it in your back for that.
That's a tough tattoo to get, I think.
Thank you very much.
Exactly the message we needed. Maybe the tattoo is, we are the levers. That is it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adélaïde. Thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you. Take care.
You.
Thank you. Okay, so next up, and building on that energy, we're going to meet three innovators really using nature to eliminate PFAS in some super fascinating and innovative ways. I'd love to invite to the stage Joanne Rodriguez from Mycocycle, Hoa Doan from Notpla, and Elena Doms from Earth Plus. Welcome to the stage. Hi, Joanne. Hi, welcome. Come. Oh, are you still a hugger when you're on stage?
Always a hugger.
Always a hugger, okay. Now you've set the standard, we have to do it for everyone. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to kick off with a bit of a whirlwind tour. I can see you looking in interest at what's happening here. At a whirlwind tour of the work of these three people, and we have an all-women session for this whole session, which is also awesome. Elena, I'm going to kick off with you, which I think you deserve, having brought this in your luggage. Elena, and I'll also share a little personal fact about each of the panelists to personalize it a little. Elena, growing up in the Arctic, where PFAS have even been detected in polar bear blood, which is not so good news. You have a front row seat to all of this. To you, first of all, I think you have to tell us why did you bring what's going on here, and then how is your solution to clean up PFAS? Floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, I brought to show you a part of a PFAS molecule. It looks like this. There are some shorter chains, there are some longer chains as well. And the way how it gets into our bodies is mainly through the water that we drink and the food that we eat. So that's why our solution focuses on soils. In fact, it started with a huge scandal in Belgium. So the Belgian government went around and measured the blood of people living around the factory of 3M. The concentrations were 10 to 100 times above the recommended limit. So the government obliged 3M to look for solutions, but there were none, except for taking the soil, excavating it, and putting it somewhere else. Impossible on a large scale. That's when my colleague, Frederik Verstraete, ran one of the first pilots in the world to clean forever chemicals from soils with plants. They worked with a farmer right across the road from 3M, and they used a plant called industrial hemp, known for its soil cleanup properties. What they discovered during that pilot was groundbreaking. They discovered that hemp plants acted like huge pumps, transporting the pollution all the way from the soil through the roots and the stems into the leaves of the plant. They then collected the polluted biomass, and they treated it at high temperatures in the technology process to destroy the pollution. It was beautiful. There was only one small thing. It took a little bit too long. So they calculated that to clean that land, it would take 10 to 12 years. So in the last 3 years, we focused and worked relentlessly on speeding up that process. And together with our partner, we developed a proprietary biotechnology. Looks like this. It consists of 300 ingredients and is based on fungi, microbes, and bacteria. We mix it in the soil, and what it does, it chops down longer PFAS chains into smaller ones, kind of like what you see here. And that helps the plants pump out the pollution faster. Think of it as trucks and cars trying to get on a highway. The bigger trucks, they are slower, but if you chop them into smaller vehicles, all of a sudden the process goes faster. And that's what it does. This biotechnology speeds up the process by 30 times. Last year, we did a project with firefighters in Belgium, and we cleaned 67% of pollution in just 3 months. So forever chemicals, they don't have to be forever anymore. That's why Earth Plus is there, so we can clean our soil, so we can have healthy food, and we can create the next ocean cleanup, but for soils.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, love that framing. Forever chemicals don't have to be forever. Okay. Hoa, over to you. Next, little fact about you. Hoa is a stand-up comedian also, so not losing the sense of humor amidst the doom and gloom. Tell us about your work with Notpla. What's your solution? How did you come to it?
So Notpla is a material science company at heart, and we look at material like seaweed and plant to help to develop the next generation of packaging. And packaging doesn't need to contain plastic or doesn't need to contain chemicals like PFAS. So you might not know that actually in a lot of our packaging, there's PFAS in that. And not only normal packaging, but actually packaging that has food contact. So there is a very high chance that the food we are eating of this type of packaging, we are actually consuming PFAS directly. So what we set out to do is that we look at new materials, but actually seaweed has been around for thousands of years, and we want to harness this property to create coating, films, and even replacing harder plastic applications as well in all of our food contact packaging. And one of the nice things that the European Commission is actually setting out to ban PFAS in all food contact materials from August 2026. But what we're saying is that it's actually too slow. We want companies to really start banning and swapping out PFAS-based packaging with a lot healthier and better packaging instead. And to date, we have replaced 21.5 million single-use plastic with Notpla products.
Wow, okay, super impressive. Thank you so much. This is the scale we need as well, coming to that in a minute. Joanne, Mycocycle, fact about you, you're kind of like the PFA of the music concert scene everywhere. You've seen over 300 different artists, and we also need that energy for your work. Tell us about your fungi solution.
Yes, my company is called Mycocycle. We are training mushrooms to eat trash and create renewable bio-based ingredients to replace plastic polymers. That's the high level. But what we're doing is focused on waste streams within the built environment space. So our roofs, walls, and floors, they're all filled with PFAS because we need to keep our buildings water resistant and fire resistant. There are greener ways to do this though, and having a 30-year career in the manufacturing of these materials has given me some insight into green chemistry to think about different ways we might formulate paths using the waste that we've already made. So our company is a biomanufacturing platform that upcycles things like carpet. We process it within a week or so through the application of fungi. We give the enzymes the happiest, healthiest life that they can so they can be very strong and vigorous against these materials. They grow through with their natural chitin biopolymers, and at the end of that we impede the growth. We create an inert material that we turn around and sell to plastics compounders, which I know sounds somewhat contrarian. I'm bridging the gap here, though, to try to remove this PFAS from the environment and upcycle it into new use so we don't have to extract new virgin resources to make more plastic polymers. We're relying on nature to show us and help us through this next chemical evolution to a point where we could be truly PFAS-free.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And so we've seen here 3 different natural solutions, which are obviously trying to tackle a huge industrial-sized problem. How do we think about scale in all of this? How can we scale such solutions to the level that we need to? And Hua, you look ready to answer that one.
I think that's why one of the things that we love seaweed is actually the fact that it grows incredibly quickly. There's 12,000 species of seaweed in the world, and there are certain species that actually grow a meter a day. So we find that it is probably one of the most sustainable material that you can use, and a natural material. doesn't require any land use, doesn't require any fertilizer or fresh water to grow. So that's why we really see has massive potential to have the scale that can actually replace a lot of the PFAS and plastic and chemicals we're currently using in the packaging that we are selling in the tons per day.
Does that also resonate with you and your work?
It does. One of the biggest impediments I'm sure that we have all heard is the scalability of natural solutions, and that it's not possible, and it'll take too long or too many resources. I'll just point out that there's beer, there's cheese, we have bread. We use fermentation practices to eat every day, and all we're doing is reordering and rearranging some of those equipment pieces to make the strange brew of waste and mycelium. And so we're able to do it very cost effective, and in fact, for our organization, we forecast the ability to produce roughly 150 million pounds of material by 2029. So this is a very scalable solution. We just need more people to believe and not listen to, the naysayers who probably have never even tried to manufacture with a natural solution.
Yeah, okay, brilliant, thank you. And so we've gone a bit technical here sometimes. We've talked about happy, healthy enzymes. We've talked about different processes. But beyond the kind of technical aspects, what cultural or behavioral shifts do we need to see to address the PFAS crisis? And I'm going to come to you on that one, Elena.
I'm going to give a biggie. In a sense that we often believe that we can only have technology and engineering solutions that are going to solve the problem because we understand exactly how that works. And when it comes to nature, we don't always know what's going on in the background. But the thing is, nature has been there around for billions of years, and nature is a lot smarter than us. So for me, the main barrier we have to overcome is we have to believe that nature is smarter than us, and if we work together with nature, we can solve huge problems on a huge scale.
Nice, thank you. I love the simplicity there of nature being smarter than us. Would you build on that for us, Joanne?
I think because we work in the packaging world, there's a lot of time consumer doesn't have a choice, right? You order pizza, you order takeaway food, it will come in the packaging that you're given. And one of the things that we do at Nopla is raising awareness to actually educate and allow people to ask more questions about what are some of the packaging they're using come from, and that by that putting pressures on some of the brands that are supplying and selling this packaging so that there is an incentive for these companies to switch to better material and better packaging.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I think Adélaïde said it best. The strength is in the mass of the people. I am old enough to have seen us come through fears about the hole in the ozone layer with the CFCs, and our ability to develop campaigns and educational awareness around this so we could reduce the usage of CFCs and coolants. Moving through and away from BPA bottles, so now you see BPA-free bottling. And so I just think it's this constant opportunity as individuals to own the solution set, to ask and advocate for products that are free of these. The dollar will always speak, unfortunately. And so the strength is in our purchasing power and in our advocacy for ourselves. And as a collective, I believe that is going to drive the change for industries that don't believe they need to.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for again emphasizing that need for collective action that Adélaïde so beautifully painted for us. And I think maybe you'd agree we need that ahead of potential EU, in particular, regulation, being updated to address PFAS as a class and as all 50,000 chemicals, or nobody knows exactly what it is, which could hopefully lead to one of the world's broadest bans. how are we feeling about this? Do we need more aggressive timelines for phase out, or how are we feeling about regulation and the future milestones here? And maybe Hoa, coming to you on that.
Yeah. I think for us, it is very clear that now the European Commission will be banning PFAS, especially in food contact packaging, by 2026. But the question we also asking is how could that be implemented? Because there needs to be very strict implementations and enforcement of these bans as well to make sure, because PFAS is invisible to the naked eye. We can see a lot of companies are advertising products that are non-intentionally added PFAS, which I do take is with a massive pinch of salt. So I do think I would call for the EU to really look at how they can actually ask for tests and independent verification that these products are actually PFAS-free.
Okay, yeah. Non-intentionally added PFAS, that is, come on. Okay, Elena, would you like to add to that? Regulation, how are you feeling?
Yes, I think we need to take a step back about the history of that regulation. So PFAS is a group of 30,000 chemicals, and initially the regulation was planning to ban around 10% of them. Then it was being watered down by the industry lobby to maybe even being reduced to 1%. But the problem with that is that you take one certain chemical and then you change the bond and you create a new chemical, and all of a sudden it's not banned. So banning a whole group is a huge step forward, and I really, really, really support it.
Thank you. And if only PFAS in real life could break up as easily as that.
I wish. It stays there for millennia, so let's make sure that it's not there anymore.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and so I think we've really seen the ubiquity of them. I think this can also give a sense of helplessness. They're just so everywhere, they're invisible. How do we still, and how do you, communicate hope, but without minimizing this severity of the problem? And maybe Joanne, coming to you on that one.
I think education, so self-education, it's like the climate crisis. It feels like I'm one person, so I can't do the thing. My one single action won't make the difference. But I think if each of us have the one single action, then it does make the difference. I think that we have to talk to each other about what these chemicals are. We need really smart, bright, and intelligent solutions and innovators who can educate us on what and how to adopt alternative solutions to this, that we start to take ownership of this and say we're not doing it anymore, we're not buying it anymore, and we do have alternatives. So I think we have to continue to recognize and talk about the innovations that are coming through that are really trying to strike down PFAS at its core or minimize the impact and allow for a transition, if you will, from PFAS-free to some moderate steps in between, and just really continue to talk about the issue at large. It is very sad when you think about PFAS being in our eggs, in our bodies, in our kids, on the toys, but we can solve this problem in this generation and the next if we continue to press very hard.
Thank you. Okay. Do you share that optimism?
Definitely, and very much on the panel here today, PFAS can be tackled, and there's a lot of different solutions that can help to either minimize or replace PFAS altogether. So we, on our Instagram and LinkedIn, as Nopla, we produce a lot of education videos, and actually our video on PFAS, talking about PFAS and PFAS in packaging, is one of the most watched videos. So clearly people really do care a lot about this topic, and hopefully with that we can get policymakers to listen and start making much bolder decisions and phase out PFAS a lot faster as well.
Okay, thank you. And I know, Elena, communication is something you're good at, seeing you online and getting lots of traction. How do you communicate hope, but without, again, minimizing that severity?
For me, it's three things. The first one, people need to know. So we need to be open about that. We need to educate them about PFAS, because otherwise no action is going to be taken. Step 2 is knowing how to better protect ourselves. For example, non-intentionally, PFAS is in paper straws. We don't need to use them. We can go for clothes with producers that don't use PFAS, for example. We can go for better food packaging. So as long as we know how to protect ourselves better, even with the food that we eat, PFAS and pesticides, if we go regenerative, we know that we can protect ourselves. That makes us feel a little bit calmer about the choices that we make. And step 3 is implementing all these solutions, including the ban on PFAS, so we can stop the tap, and then cleaning up all the pollution that we've created.
Awesome. Thank you for breaking that down for us. And so as we're kind of winding slowly towards the end of this, I'm going to have 2 very quick short rounds. For one round, I'm going from Joanne leftwards. I'd give you the opportunity to share, and all of you the same. How can the audience get involved in your work, in Mycocycle, in NotPla, in Earth Plus? How can they do this? What are you looking for right now from people at Change Now?
I think continuing to take the message out of here is what I would say. We're not a consumer-facing product, but we are going into building products. We're going into automotive and consumer products. So I think if you have connections within the manufacturing sector, advocating to have upcycled materials with mushrooms would be great. That would be my biggest ask. Stop by our exhibit here, scan the QR code, know our website, contact us for more information, just engage. I feel the more the network knows, the better. We're just one little organization, and you guys could carry our message very far.
Okay.
And for us, I would assume that everyone sat here would be working in an office and would have a canteen. Our ask is really to go, and if you see any single-use packaging, ask the chef, ask the people serve you, or ask your procurement team, does this packaging contain PFAS? And if they don't know the answer, they should look it up.
Okay, hold them accountable. Nice, thank you. Elena, what's your message?
For us at Earth Plus is, if you have polluted lands or if you know of polluted lands, come to us and we can clean them together. And if not, please help us spread the word that PFAS doesn't have to be forever anymore. We can clean our soils and have healthy food again.
Okay, thank you. So for one final round, I want to end with a bit of a different kind of question here. I want to use your imagination a little here. And I would love you to imagine this cute little PFAS molecule here, and imagine it was a movie villain, a movie character. Which movie character would that be, and how do we beat it as a result? And this time we'll go from left to right. So kicking off with you, Elena, if PFAS was a movie villain.
I'd say it would be Jafar from Aladdin. And the little parrot on his shoulder is the industry lobby, trying to put things under the carpet. And how do we defeat it? With the power of love to ourselves, our bodies, our future, nature, and with brave action against all the odds.
Nice, thank you very much. The power of love, and also good reference to a session happening on the transformative power of love just after this one. Hoa, which movie villain?
I would say PFAS is like the ring from Lord of the Ring.
Oh.
It might whisper into your ear and say that you need it, but you're really better off without it.
Oh, nice one. Thank you. Like the ring from Lord of the Rings. So we need to all be Bilbos or Frodos or whatever to beat it. Joanne?
You're really hard to follow. I am going to say DC Comics' Poison Ivy. She was poisoned by toxins and was permeating everything. And the way we would fight poison ivy is with nature. So nature on nature, there is a fungi known as poison ivy red that can actually combat, or poison ivy rust, and it can combat poison ivy and kill it. So I would say the tool to combat that would be nature on nature.
Nice, thank you. And thank you for playing with me for that last thing. I think you did an awesome job of that. So, how do we feel? Quick pulse check from a quite doomy start. Maybe show me with your thumb, are you feeling more hopeful, still the same, or less hopeful even? Okay, good. It seems you've done a good job there. Could you all please give a big change now, round of applause? Elena, Hoa, Joanne, you've been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can help you hold some.
Okay, I'm gonna now give the space. We've been a lot in our minds for Change Now, a lot of mental stuff. I will give the space to Paula Michaelis from Green is the New Black, who's gonna give us what is called an energy shift break. Okay, so you're very welcome. A moment to reset and reconnect. Paula, can I invite you? Okay, welcome. Go get them.
How are you doing, Change Now? Woo! Okay, so welcome to day 3 of Change Now. I'm Paula, and we have 3 minutes to learn how to increase our power. Who wants to do that? Yeah? Okay. So here I'm not talking about a destructive power. I'm talking about a very deeply healing power. And here's what I believe. Power comes from being present. Because it's only when we become truly present to ourselves that we can be true leaders and truly present for others. Okay? So I'm going to ask everyone to stand up. And to think about your relationship with power. Just the first thing that comes to your mind. No need to think through it. Just like, what do you feel when you think about power? What's happening in your body? Because again, power can be destructive, can be healing. So we're going to learn how to make it always healing through this very quick, simple exercise. In a minute, but not now, you're going to turn to someone you don't know. You're going to take a deep breath in, and you're going to decide which role you want to have. Do you want to be the person who is leading or the person who is being led? Do you want to be the person who is initiating or the person who is surrendering to the energy? Do you want to be the person who is holding the space or the person who is being held in the space? Okay? And then you're going to look at each other's eyes. Very simple. Very simple. On these eyes. And you're going to look at the other person for a minute. Now, I know it's going to be daring and confronting, but you're going to just get out more powerful, more present, and I'm telling you that your day is going to change after that. Are you with me? Yeah? Okay. So now turn to the person that you don't know, or you know. Just turn to this person, say hi. We can have a bit of music already. And then you're going to decide which role you want to have. Do you want to be leading or do you want to be led? Just decide between each other. Okay. And without saying a word, you're going to look at each other's eyes. I know it's going to be confronting, but look at each other's eyes. Yeah. Look in the eyes of the other person, of your partner. And then you're going to take a deep breath in and out. And another one in and out. And I know it's challenging. I know it can be confronting. But you're going to start noticing a story in your head. Maybe you have some crazy sensation in your body. If you can, just stick with your partner's eyes. I know it can be funny. You might laugh. It's all about increasing your presence and be true leaders for one another. We only have a few seconds left. Make them powerful. Just trust in showing your vulnerabilities. Start noticing your body and your mind is changing. And just as we're closing this small, simple practice, if you feel the call to, you can thank your partner and maybe giving a hug. And I hope you enjoyed this simple but powerful exercise that hopefully increase your power. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Paula, are you reset and reconnected? So, to close this session, we're going to meet an incredible business leader who has transformed an entire company towards sustainability. I'd love to invite to the stage and for you to give a really warm welcome and a hot welcome with this sun, CEO of Fauder, Antje von Davids. Welcome, Antje. Welcome. Hi, willkommen.
Wow, it's bright.
It's bright, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Need your sunglasses, maybe.
Yeah, we need.
Okay, so, Antje, pleasure and honor to have you with us. You've led Fauder, and for those that don't know, really Germany's leading outdoor clothes brand, on a remarkable journey, touching every aspect of work that they do. And I think almost too much to get across on stage. But I'd love you to start by kind of, briefly, before we dive into PFAS, briefly outlining the scope of this transformation and the different areas of the business that this has touched.
Okay. I'm the CEO of Fauder. We're an outdoor company. We're in the textile business. And outdoor, we equip people to go outside. So we equip people to enjoy the great outdoors, which is the greatest industry you can possibly be in. But this greatest industry has also the greatest risks of the industries. It is always, textile industry is always with precarious social conditions in Asia. It's always with a lot of chemicals, according to Greenpeace, 3,500 harmful substances. It's said to be 10% of all emissions worldwide are caused by the textile industry. There's water consumption, there's a lot, there's a whole lot. When I grew up as a kid, I didn't think that I want to be in the company of my father. I thought that I would be at Greenpeace fighting against such companies who destroy the planet. I did my first traineeship at Fauder, and I was inspired that the company like Fauder can do ecological projects. And it tackled me because I said, okay, oh wow, if I want to overtake responsibility, I can do this as a CEO. But then when I looked at the impact of the projects that we've done so far, I saw that it didn't reach the customer. It had no more value for nature. So this was the moment when I said, okay, if we go this way further, we have to go put all in or nothing. We have to understand we're part of a problem, we have to be part of the solution too. We have to understand, in making business, that we're not only managing the financial impacts, we also have to manage the social and the ecological impacts. And with this in mind, I said to my future general management team, we want to have a green company. We want to have a company like a greenhouse, where you can open every aspect, where you can look under the carpet at every industry we're working with, because everything is good. And so this was a crazy thought, because I didn't know if it worked. And so step by step, we turned, 16 years ago, the entire industry around. We tackled every material. We put it on the highest standards. We went into the supply chains. We audited every industry partner. We changed industry partners to go with us. So up till now, we have 80% of our whole collection is in green shape. This is our meta label of ecological standards. And where there are no standards, we went further, like with PFAS. We went to get rid of it. And if I talk about this now, it sounds easy, but 16 years ago when we started, there was practically no other brand who cared about this. So we were pretty much the only ones, and we had so much convincing to do, and so much backlashes, and so much work to do. It was crazy. But today, well, we have 80% of green shape. We managed to decouple emissions from growth. So from 2019 to 2024, we managed to grow by 30% in turnover, but at the same time decrease our emissions by 40% because we changed materials, because we had decarbonization projects in our supply chain. It's a lot of work, and it goes in every aspect of our work.
Yes, thank you. Oh my God, but I can really see the energy and how you've managed to create this. It's really been a remarkable transformation. I'd love to rewind a little and understand also your personal motivation for this. You know, we've spoken about your love of the outdoors, mountains, also getting your own family into it. Where did this spark come from for you personally?
I think the first spark was my mother. She was like a Greenpeace activist, so that was in my mind, that economy is bad and growth is not everything. And that put the sparkle in my mind that I want to contribute to a good planet. But I think the most impact that really inspired me was having 4 kids. I never worked without kids. So having them and being CEO, I always had this thought in my mind that one day my kids will ask me, what did I do to save this planet? And I really, really wanted to look them in the eyes and said, I really, really tried my best. So I think this is the deepest wish that I have, and that motivates me every day.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And across all of that, across the corporate philosophy, across the working conditions, supply chains, emissions, circular economy, advocacy, when did PFAS come in? And I know you tackled it long before pretty much anyone else, and long before it was on the public radar. Yeah, when did that come in? How did you start on that, and how did that journey evolve as well?
So 16 years ago, when I became CEO of VD, we looked at all our materials and we put them to the highest standards. For the materials we are in, it was, for example, bluesign. But even bluesign, the strictest standards for our materials, didn't tackle PFAS. And at that point, like it has been pointed out by the speakers before, at that point, it was long known that PFAS are harmful. But there's up till today, I think there's a fight over, are they really harmful, are they not harmful? There are so many legal cases about this. And we follow the precautionary principle. We say, as VD, we don't wait until the last study confirms that this causes cancer. We start now. So we started by ourselves. And there were already chemical solutions out there. So if you understand what PFAS in my business is, you have waterproof jackets, and there's a membrane in the waterproof jacket that keeps the water from getting inside. So it's easy to change the membrane. We did this in 2010 already. But then there's a chemical finish on it. And this is very important because it keeps the material from soaking up with water and oil. And this was really hard to replace. And there were chemicals out there, but they didn't work. So what we did was we convinced, and it was a lot of work to convince a producer to try out this solution, this non-PFAS solution. And it's very hard to convince the producers because they have to clean their entire production lines. Because if there are traces of PFAS, you don't have a PFAS-free finish. So it's very hard to convince them. And then, okay, we tried the solutions out, and they worked in the laboratory. And we were yay, they work. And then we tried them. We produced samples, and we found out, okay, but on the outside, they don't work. So we tried again, and we tried, and we failed, and we tried, and we failed. And that went on for years. For years, we didn't get one step further. And then what I think is really, really exciting, the final spark came from Greenpeace, because they made a big campaign on outdoor gear, blaming the outdoor industry for using PFAS, which was very, very hurtful because we tried so hard to get rid of them. But on the bright side, it was that this helped us to get alignment. Because with Greenpeace, with the campaign of Greenpeace, and with this publicity of having PFAS as a problem out there, We got chemistry more interested in finding new solutions. We found new producers who were willing to try out the procedure. We found fabric suppliers who were willing to try on new fabrics, who try new surfaces, because everything counts together. So we made round tables to get them all together, because this is the secret of success in innovation. You need to have the interdisciplinary partners on one table to share the best practice, to share the know-how, to know how the processes must work, to know which surface of fabric does work, does not. So with Greenpeace, with the campaign of Greenpeace in our back, we've had these roundtables, and I think 1 or 2 years later, we found the first solutions that worked. And since 2022, our entire apparel collection is PFAS-free, and since this year on, our entire collection, up to tents, and the last tent was the most difficult because tent is so much fabric, but in this year, also the last tent is PFAS-free, and I'm so very proud of this.
Amazing, well done.
Thank you.
So 2025, the final tent.
The final last tent, but from 2022, all apparel. Yeah.
Okay, and it seems like an extremely hard journey and hard chemistry, hard technical stuff, but also getting everyone on board is tough, right? How has real collaboration look like in this journey?
I think no matter what we talk about in sustainability matters, it's always a team sport. And you always need the entire, in my business, you always need all the partners from the supply chain on board. You need them on eye level, you need them to share their experience, you need them to trust each other, because this was the first problem that we faced, that all the people said, no, I don't tell them what is in my chemical solution. I don't want them to know my ingredients. But if the producer doesn't know the ingredients, he doesn't know how to use them in the process. So first step was to get all on board and to make them trust each other. Because only if you have trust on eye level, you have a deep cooperation that brings you forward. And the good thing about VD was that we were working with them so long that we have won their trust. And with us, they agreed on sitting on one table and sharing their secrets.
Okay, that is a nice recipe, I think. And so now, PFAS-free, what are the next frontiers for you at Valder? What's next in the chapters of sustainability journey?
Well, I think one of the biggest chapters is, I already told about the decoupling. So we already managed to cut emissions by 40%. And I think to 50, 60, 70, it will also go very fast. But then the last are very, very difficult. So changing all the materials to recycled materials is easy. But now we're in the supply chain to discuss with the producers how can they change to more energy efficiency? How can they change to more climate-friendly energy uses? This is getting more and more difficult because it's more and more tricky. So this is one big task, to get down to net zero. We want to be there in 2040. And also, what we also do is that we not only put our products in a cycle to make them very long-lasting, to make them repairable, but also that we introduce new services like repair. Of course, we have repair since 20 years, but also to rent our products and to make them second-hand available for customers. And I think this is the best we can do. Just rent a tent, because you don't need a tent every day. You just need it once a year. So rent it, rent your backpack, rent these stuff. But it's a cultural change. So we are putting a lot of effort in spreading out the message to change cultural consumption behavior in order to bring forward such services that will help the planet.
Okay, and thank you. And connected to that cultural change, unfortunately, not every business has a leader and likely a team with the values and energy that you have for this change. So voluntary action within the apparel industry, for example, is not enough, right? Do we also need faster, stronger regulation? What's your perspective on that?
I think that most of the problems on Earth are caused by companies. and we look at the planet in despair. So we need all the companies on board to do their homework, to care, to tackle their own problems, to manage their own ecological and social problems they cause. And yes, you're right. Unfortunately, there are not enough companies out there who do this by themselves, who do this on them. And I understand why. Because especially in economic crisis, it's really, really tough to do something voluntarily if it's not paid for, if it's not asked for. And we see this backlash, this really harsh backlash that politicians and companies say, okay, this is bureaucratic stuff, we don't need this. And it's not. And I really, really look forward and support regulations for companies to have a common ground, to have a common playing field, because first of all, it's unfair for those who overtake responsibility because it costs so much more. It's so much more difficult to overtake the responsibility as to not overtake the responsibility. How strange is this? So it's unfair. And if we all work together, and I see this a lot in the supply chain, because we work together with our competitors, we share social audits, we share the mapping of our producers in order to decouple them together, in order to make projects together. It costs less, it shares the risk, we have a higher leverage if we do this together, so it's the best we work together. So we need legislation on the one hand. We need legislation to have common standards that all the companies follow. But on the other hand, we also need, we don't have, companies always see this as something from top. They see, okay, it's so bureaucratic, and I have to do this, and I hate it. We also need something that makes them want it. So less taxes for high standards, for example. For products with high standards, we need less taxes, for example. Or we need the governments with their big budgets to buy products with ecological standards. We need them to act first. So we need to inspire companies so that they follow this path voluntarily and not only put pressure on them.
Okay, thank you for that passionate call for more pressure on companies there.
More pressure and more inspiration that they follow that voluntarily.
Yeah, and now maybe to look at it from a very different angle, and I think one thing maybe fewer people know about VAUDE is that it's also really got the highest reputation in terms of its work culture, in terms of how the staff treat each other, etc. I'd love to hear finally a little bit about that and how your own leadership style, if you like, has influenced the transformation you've been on.
I think it's very, very, probably you all know that, but transformation does not work in a hierarchical approach. You cannot look down on the people and say, now we transform. You have to be on eyesight. It's such a complex thing. We changed so much. We changed the materials. We changed the supply chain. We changed our producers. We changed ourselves so much. Just look at how products are made now at VAUDE. At the beginning, there was a product manager who made a great product for great activities for the outdoors. He still does this, but now he thinks from the end. He thinks, okay, how can this product be free of harmful substances? How can this product be long-lasting? How can this product be repairable? How can it be probably made of one material in order to make it recyclable in a few years? So we changed ourselves totally. And in order to do that, and in order to be successful with this, we have to look at so many different perspectives from the social side, from the ecological side, from the business side. And we always have to find new solutions together. And you only can do this on eye level. You can only do this in a culture of trust, where hierarchy is not the domination point. So we had this ecological transformation, and at the same time we had this cultural transformation, because our culture before was like a startup culture. We had one leader, my father, and he said pretty much in this direction, everybody followed. So we had to learn not to look up all the people and say, okay, Antje, tell us what do we next, but to get up on eyesight and find solutions together, come together. So we train ourselves very much in relationship management, in getting along with each other, in how to tackle complexity, how to tackle together conflicting targets. So it's a very agile culture on eye level.
Okay, wow, thank you so much. I love that the cultural transformation goes hand in hand with the more technical.
It has to.
Yeah, thank you. That's very inspiring and something we can all take on board, I think. So sadly, I could carry on talking to you for another 1 hour at least. We're coming to the end. So I'd love you to think now, final message, when this audience walks out of these grand doors of the Grand Palais into the Paris early evening sunshine. What's the one message you want echoing around their minds? What do you want them to leave this session with?
We already heard before that politicians are not the leaders. We are the leaders, and we should combine our voices. And I can just truly support this, because in the beginning of our transformation, I heard so often from our dealers, brick and mortar dealers, who said, well, it's nice what you do there with this ecological thing, but no customer asked for this. We heard this so often, and our sales team always said to us, you know, nobody's asking for this, so it should not cost any cent more. And during these last 16 years, we more and more heard, oh, there are customers that ask for that. Oh, we have customers that are interested. So you have a voice. You have a voice as a consumer. This is not the greatest voice you have. Let the dollar speak. But you also have a voice as a consumer to speak out, to be interested, to ask questions, to ask where is it made, how is it made, are there PFAS inside? Look out and let your voice speak up, because it is heard. And it helps us. It truly helps us. We couldn't have made this transformation without the support of consumers. Yeah.
Yes. How can we clone you, Antje? We need more business leaders with this vision, these values, this energy. Thanks a million. It's been a really wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so I love it that for a topic as complex as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, got to get it in there again, can come down to as simple a conclusion as it's us. It has to be us to make the change. So let's do it. Let's make forever chemicals not forever anymore. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.